Welcome to Truth and Justice with Vivian King. We have another exciting show tonight where we delve into the truth about the criminal justice system. I have in the studio tonight Mr. LaJohn Wilson, who was accused of sexually assaulting his daughter, who was a minor. And I also have my great friend and attorney, Ms. Tiaiva Bell. We will be talking about the trials and tribulations of being accused in the criminal justice system and exactly how the process works. I invite your comments and your calls at 713-807-1794. We're going to delve right into it. As our normal format is, LaJohn Wilson's in the studio telling his story, and we're going to go into the backdrop of how he got with his daughter and the background of their relationship and how it led to him being charged with sexually assaulting her. So, LaJohn, thank you for having the courage to tell your story, to try to educate the Harris County community about the criminal justice system and the things that you go through when you're charged with a crime.
All right. Well, I'd like to say thank you for having me on your show so I can explain the things that that they do have a good side of the criminal justice, system.
So let's talk about your daughter now. Currently, this started in like 2009, and now we're at 2012, and you have a wife and 2 children, but yet you discover that you have a daughter that you had when you were a younger man. So let's talk about that. And you're from Port Arthur, but you live in Baytown, Harris County now. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so let's talk about how you met your daughter, Natalie.
Okay. One day I was in my hometown, visiting family, and I remember seeing a picture of a friend of mine showed me that was going around town saying that I had a daughter in Port Arthur, and I seen her crossing the street in between Twins, 9th Avenue and Jimmy Johnson. Basically, when I approached her, I hollered her name, Natalie, and she automatically just jumped in the car. And I say, "Do you know who I am?" She say, "No." I say, "I'm your father." And automatically she went into tears, saying like, "I prayed for this for the longest." I say, "Well, you don't have to pray no more. God answered your prayers." I asked her where her mother was. She said she was at home. And I say, let's go over there. She said, she said she don't want to see you, because of the time of saying that saying that I've been the baby's father and I never been around and I never went to the point of claiming the child. So what I went on and did, I went over there anyway. Went over to the house and I greeted myself to the mom and found out what was going on with the child, with Natalie. And basically she told me she was going through some regression. She being kind of rebellious and stuff like that and everything. I say, well...
Tell us how Natalie was at the time.
At the time, saying that she, in the rebellious part, she was like...
I think she was about 15.
15 years old. She was 15. She's about 6'2", very tall young lady. A very beautiful young lady also.
6'2", and let's also talk about one of the clinchers in the deal, because when you look at the police report, especially old police reports, it describes Natalie, the girl that you think is your daughter, as a white female.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so talk about that.
Okay, yeah, basically, her nationality is basically she would be German and black.
Okay.
Okay.
So her mother's German.
Her mama's German.
You said her mother's about 6'5".
Yeah, her mom is about 6'5", 6'4", somewhere like that.
And how tall are you?
I'm 6'2".
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, she takes, she was taking both sides, she stands pretty tall as to being at that time 15 years old. She was pretty tall too. You couldn't tell that she was 15 years old.
So she was about 6'2"?
Yeah, about 6'2". She stand eye to eye vision with me.
Okay.
Basically, but like I said, I talked to the mother and tried to find out what's going on, and she was like, okay, she's raising a lot of H around here, beating up tearing up vandalism on my apartment, tearing up my cars and stuff like that, and I really need help with her. I said, well, like I told her, I'm here, you know, what you need me to do, you know. So what we came up to agreement is I told her, let me call my wife and see if we can, you know, start spending time with her. So to make a long story short, we came to agreements to go ahead and start letting her come and spend time with us on the weekends. And basically it looked like she enjoyed that. She enjoyed that. But like when the weekend would end, it'd be like she was getting more rebellious with her mother because she'll start doing more stuff at home and, you know, cutting up more, you know, at home. And her mom was telling me that she found out down the line that she was involved with a 27-year-old guy, that I got more involved in trying to find out who it was, because basically she'll sneak away from the house. When she would go back, she was, like I say, only with me on the weekend, but during the weekdays, she was at her mom's house. She would wind up skipping school to be with this guy, and, you know, doing regular, you know, being in high school, you have a curfew, 12 o'clock. She'll be outside, you know, she'll be gone past 12. Her mom had to send police officers to try to find her, tracking where she was at. Well, we came up, her mom gave me a call, told me she want to go ahead and give her rights up with the child. She said she couldn't do it no more.
So now you have Natalie, who's your daughter, who's living in Port Arthur. You're living here in Baytown with your wife and 2 children. And now we have Natalie's mother wanting to give her parental rights up because
Correct.
Natalie won't mind, and she's running around with a 27-year-old man.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. So here we go. We came up to the conclusion. I still had to discuss it with my wife to see if it'd be okay. You know, first it was kind of, you know, a budget problem for our household because me, my wife, and my 2 kids there already. And the economy was already kind of bad. But I basically can say I kind of overrode my wife because she was really in a part of saying that she didn't really want to, you know, that we really couldn't afford it. Not that she didn't want her, but we couldn't afford another mouth to feed. So what we did, we decided to go ahead and, you know, take her anyway. When we got her over there, you know, I had to go through some things, getting her transferred. She came to my house like in December. That caused her to lose credits of high school because she was a freshman. And I had to fight for them credits because I wasn't getting no assistance from her mama, talking to her counselor and trying to get her credits and everything transferring to Baytown. Once I got basically all that organized and everything, it was coming to the point of knowing that that she was starting to get rebellious. When I'm not around, she would be rebellious toward my wife. She'll be rebellious toward my daughter, to the point she wasn't respectful toward them.
Now, what was the sleeping arrangements? You had a 3-bedroom house. So what was the sleeping arrangements once Natalie came and moved in with you, your wife, and your 2 children?
Well, like I said, we have a 3-bedroom home. My son had his own room, and Natalie slept in the room with my 11-year-old, at the time, my 9-year-old daughter.
So at the time, Natalie was 15, your daughter 15, turning 16, your daughter was 9, and your son was about 14.
14, correct.
Okay.
Yeah, correct. And that they was roommates. That's the sleeping order for what was going on. But once all that got started, like I say, I had a policy with Natalie. When I found out about the 27-year-old boy, you can't call him from my house. You can't call him from the cell phone. Even she'll tell me I can't tell her what to do with her cell phone because her mom paid for the cell phone. I told her as long as she was in my house and that cell phone was in my house, I can tell her what she was gonna do. Still of all, she would still make sneak calls on her cell phone to call a guy. So what I did, I wound up taking the phone and, well, basically giving it to her mama. So she started using my phone. And I used to call bluffs on her, telling her I got the phone bill, and I found out that you've been calling this boy. And she'll be like, yeah. But, you know, as being a young kid at one day, you know, knowing that we don't listen to our parents, you know, I knew she wasn't listening to me, so I knew she was talking to the guy on the phone. I took some trips going to work, and she used to have to stay with my wife, and she was having problems listening and following directions with my wife. And what was going on, it was like I leave, she'll bump heads with my wife. So at this point,
did she and your wife ever have any physical altercations?
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Did Natalie try to fight your wife?
Oh yes. She basically it started off with verbal abuse toward my wife first. It was B's and H's at first.
She was calling her bitches and hoes.
Yeah, bitches and hoes.
Okay. So we got a 15, now she's turned 16 in January. She's calling your wife, who's taking care of her, bitches and hoes.
Yes, in her household.
In her household.
In her house. And my wife was giving her benefit of the doubt because she was my child. So she kind of letting her make it. One time I was at work and it was going on again. She was bitches and hoes again in the house. So, and she was calling the guy and she was talking to the guy in front of my wife with like she didn't care no more. And they was making up things. My wife said, you need to get home because she's in here talking about she packing her bags to leave. She's gonna get up out of here. That guy coming, J-Rock, is on his way to pick her up. And if you get in their way or whatever, you better have a body bag because him and his friend's gonna kill you. I said, for real? I said, okay, well, we done with my work here. Don't let her know I'm on my way home, you know. So once I got to the house, you know, basically, I'm a man of discipline, you know. I'm a discipliner, you know. I'm old school. I believe in the belt, you know, and that's what we talk when I hit the door. You know, wasn't no such thing as sit down, let me talk to you, whatever. I got my belt and then went down in there, you know.
Right, because she's threatened to kill, her boyfriend gonna kill you and your family and have a body bag ready. 27-year-old J-Rock's about to come here and regulate your household.
In my household.
So you let her know that, no, I regulate my household.
I regulate. So at the time when I was regulating on her at the time, because he wasn't there yet, the phone rang, my house phone, and it was him. So he's on the phone, so I put her on the phone because he wouldn't say nothing. So I say, tell him what's going on over here. Let him know who's regulating what's going on. You catching an ass whooping, you know. And she's, she's crying on the phone or whatever. He told her to put me on the phone. So he telling me him and his boys on his way and he's gonna do me something. And I told him, well, before you come here, you need to check my resume. From
Port Arthur, you need to find out who I am.
You need to find out who I am before you get here, you know. So before you know it, the young man called me back maybe about 10, 15 minutes. Sir, I'm just calling back and saying I'm apologizing. I'm sorry. My mom tell me I should not be playing like I'm older than what I am and should not be disrespectful to my elders. I'm only 17. Basically, I already know he's trying to play games with me.
Because you know police officers in Port Arthur that you grew up with, so you already knew the man was 27.
I already knew him. They already done had records that they've been looking for him. They couldn't touch base with him because she wouldn't give him the exact name or whatever. And like I say, you know, I have a nice amount of friends that's cops that was looking out for me, you know, when basically, you know, when I got her. So
well, let's get to the sexual assault part. So we got the background story. She's hitting your wife, disrespecting her. They've actually had, the girl's fighting your wife, and your wife's having to fight her, and your wife's only like 5'2", and the girl is 6'2".
Correct.
So eventually, it gets to the point where you send the girl back home to Port Arthur.
Right.
Okay, and when you send her back to Port Arthur, what happens after that?
Once I send her back to Port Arthur, I mean, really before I get ready to send her to Port Arthur, she was making like threats, telling my daughter and wives, just walking around the house saying she's not coming back, and she know a way to make sure that she don't come back. And basically, I called her mom and told her what kind of little threat she was making. Mom really didn't take it seriously. So I told her mom, I said, you gonna come pick her up for the summer? She said, yeah, I'm coming get her. I said, if you have any kind of difficulty, any type of rebellion, I said, call me, she come on back. So she went out there probably on the second week. When she out there, I got a call from my mama saying that Natalie said that I done sexually assaulted her.
So now you've had her from December to June, had her in school in the Goose Creek School District.
Yes.
And now she's going home for the summer. And within 2 weeks of her getting back to Port Arthur, she's accused you of sexually assaulting her. So I'm assuming her mother called the Port Arthur police. Correct.
Yes, okay. She did. She called the Port Arthur police, and basically, I guess since they're saying that what she's saying the crime was done at, Port Arthur police couldn't really do anything about it. So what they did, that directed her to the Child Protective Service, and basically start directing her toward the right direction where she needed, the right turn she needed to take. But before that even occurred, she got with the Attorney General.
So then the mother said, well, I'm telling about the threat that the mother made to
Yeah,
you.
so the mother made, before she even got to talking about touching base with the police department to file charges, she, first thing came out of her mouth, she was filing child support.
So now the girl's 16, the mother's calling you saying, I heard you've been sexually assaulting my child. But instead of her calling the police, she's calling you, threatening, saying, you better give me some money because I'm fixing to file child protective service. I mean, I'm filing child support on you.
I'm calling child support. And she put that in, and that was the first thing I got before the police ever came to take a statement or anything. The Attorney General got in touch with me first.
For child support?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so now, I guess because the child, Natalie, said you raped her in Houston, in Harris County, not in Houston, but in Baytown, which is Harris County, then Port Arthur Police had to refer it to the Baytown Police.
Baytown Police.
Okay, and then what happens after that? So
after that, basically, I get touch base with a detective, Officer Lily, and Detective Lily, that is, and he comes to me. He gives me a call telling me he needs to speak with me on a case of a young lady named Natalie. And when he told me, I told him, well, I'm en route to go to work. He told me, well, basically you need to miss work because you need to be home. So basically at that particular time, I didn't know my rights, so I stayed home. If I knew what I knew today, I would have told him I don't have to wait until I get back in contact with him or subpoena a warrant, one of the two. But but that's what you don't, when you don't know, you don't know. So I stayed home, and I called my wife to meet me there. So he came to the house, and boy, and man, he interrogated me at my house like I was an insurgent. Like I was an insurgent. He questioned, telling me that he know I did it. He told me he had me on a voice recorder. Said the young lady was smart because she had her phone on, and she had me on a voice recorder. Basically, he told me before he turned on the tape recorder, he told me this. He asked all these questions. He told me all this before he hit the button on the tape recorder. I told him, basically, I'm telling you now, and I'm looking in your face, I didn't do it. He say, and I went in my room and brought him papers. He told me, what does that mean? That don't mean anything. He said, that's not, I don't care. What kind of papers were they? Showing the discipline, things I was going through school, and all this other stuff, showing that, I've been working with this child. This child is a problem child. Let's stop for a moment. Tiava Bell's been here, and she hasn't said much. Tiava is a great young lawyer that works for the Public Defender's Office, and she's also been a prosecutor. Tiava, tell me what you think about this. She's my guest tonight to just talk about the criminal justice system. Tell me what you think about this. Tell me about the procedural part. The officer coming to his house, threatening him, saying these things to him, and eventually getting a recorded statement from him. Tell me what you think about what you've heard.
So far, it's standard police procedure. When he heard it, he naturally jumped to it when he went to investigate it. The reason he had him come to the house as opposed to having you brought into the station is if it's a voluntary statement, they get to use it in court. If it's an involuntary statement or a custodial statement that's not written or not recorded, they don't get to use it. So they want to make it seem like it was on your term and you were free to go and you didn't feel harassed or you didn't feel coerced into giving a statement. The reason he threatened you prior to putting those tapes or putting what you said on tape is because all we're going to hear in trial is what's on the tape. So everything that came before him pushing play, we never get to hear that. We don't know what state of mind you're in. We don't know what he told you. We don't know what impression you seem to be under. We don't get any of that. The only thing we get to hear is the couple minutes that he allows us to hear by pressing record. So that's why it is always important. If you are in this situation, you might be the most innocent person in the world. Get a lawyer. Take a lawyer, and then do not give a statement without a lawyer, because sometimes it's important to hear the whole context. What about if you didn't give such a direct answer and you went to explain, look, she's done this before, and he's only getting bits and pieces, or he starts at a good point where you're describing something else. All we hear at trial is what's on the tape. We don't hear the lead up. We don't hear the reason for it. We don't hear any of that. So it's really important. I'm guessing his next statement was to investigate a little bit more because he didn't have enough evidence based upon what he got from you. He didn't have anything to confirm it. He didn't have the tapes. And they are always going to tell you they have more evidence than they have. If they had it, they would have...
Let me stop you for a moment, Ms. Bell. Now, tell him this. Tell the viewers this. A lot of people don't understand, I hear this a lot, is, well, the cop lied to me. I didn't think they could lie to me. But police officers can lie to you, but you can't lie to them. So when the police officer is telling LaJohn that Natalie had tape recorded him and Natalie had done all these things, it wasn't true, but he's allowed to do that. But he'll turn the tape recorder on when you start talking to try to get you bluffed into a position to say something. Yeah, when he was questioning you, had he read you your Miranda rights, like you have a right to remain silent?
Yes, he did. He did do that. He read me my rights, and like basically, I just fell to the point because, like I said, I didn't know anything at that time, and I didn't, feel guilty of anything. So I feel like I was able to answer any question that he was going to be able to put on the table, not knowing it was going to be like what I would call interrogation. Some real, direct, indirect type of questions.
Hold your thought for a moment. Caller, you're on. Thank you for calling Truth and Justice with Vivian King.
Yes, how you doing, Ms. King and Ms. Tiava Bell and Mr. Wilson there. I must say, you're looking my questions there tonight, Mr. King and Ms. Bell.
Thank you.
And Mr. Wilson, I want to commend you for, having the courage to come on and share your story with the show. It's very, very sad commentary, I hate this had to happen to you. But I have a question for Ms. King. It's a legal question. If I'm arrested and I'm asked by the police to take a polygraph test, should I do it or what should I do?
That's a good question. You do need to hire a lawyer and consider it on a case-by-case basis. Keep watching, and we'll talk about the polygraph next with LaJohn Wilson. Were you asked to take a polygraph test?
Yes, I was, and thank God that I had friends that I talked to prior to that done been in trouble before. The detective wasn't getting the direct answers that he wanted from me, so the next threat was, well, I'm done with this record statement. Let's get up and go down to the police station and take a polygraph. I told him no, and he told me, you denying it? I say, yes, I am. He said, you denying the polygraph? I said, yes, I am.
Let me just talk about that. Now, I advise my clients not to take a polygraph test. They're not admissible in court. They're useful tools for the police to use, but they're not admissible in court, but yet it'll be part of the probable cause to indict you or to arrest you. So if it's not admissible in court, whether you pass or if you pass it, you still might get charged or indicted. So why chance it? And I remember having a bad experience when I was a freshman in college, and it was a really goody two-shoes, and didn't get a job at a bank, and I was told that I didn't pass a polygraph. Well, I know I told the truth. So my personal experience is that I don't believe in polygraphs. I tell my clients not to. And when Tiava Bell is saying get a lawyer, a lot of police officers feel like get a lawyer means you're not going to cooperate. There have been times in sexual assault cases where someone's hired me and said, I haven't been charged yet, but the police have called me to give a statement. I've interviewed the client. I've gone to the police department with them. And I allowed them to give the statement. But what I did was, like Tiava was alluding to, I controlled the statement. I let the police officers say what they had to say. They couldn't say it in a corrosive manner. They couldn't threaten them, because they're going to have to come straight and come clean with me, because they can't lie. They can't change their stories and use any police tactics that they might use. And I'm saying this not to say anything bad about police officers, but we just have on many occasions clients telling us threatening things that just don't seem right. But in that case, when I went with someone, I actually said, well, he is going to give a statement, but I'm going to help him. And I stood at the police officer's typewriter, and I typed his statement. And then he pulled it out. I made sure my client said it right, and my client signed it. That guy was never charged with the crime. And it was a kind of a date rape type of situation. But he had sex with the girl, but it was willing, and she was drunk as hell.
Okay.
And she said she was. And, and it was about 15 witnesses, and we told our side of the story in writing. And he was never charged with that crime because the girl was vindictive, and we told the whole story. So they had to go back and then ask her these questions, do further investigation, and found out that it was a party, everybody was there, and they'd seen what happened. So I'm saying that to say that just because you lawyer up, as people say, does not mean that your lawyer is not going to let you talk to the police. It'll just be in a controlled environment.
Right, exactly.
And there's no dirty games being played. And if it's such that your lawyer needs to go back and investigate more of what the police officers are accusing you of, because remember, the lawyer is going to be just as caught off guard as you are. So if they're saying 2 or 3 people said something, we might need to go back and investigate, and then come back to the police when we're ready to talk to them.
Right.
So keep that in mind. You have a right to not talk to, and keep this in mind too. Police officers have lawyers. They have the district attorney's office that has a police intake desk that's open 24 hours a day. So they're going to call their lawyers, the district attorney's office, to advise them of how to proceed in trying to conduct their investigation. Okay. And when it's time to file charges, they're going to call the district attorney's office and say, do I have enough yet? He said this on a recording. She said that. Do I have enough? And they're going to say, no, you might need medical records, or you might need to go have her give a statement at the Children's Assessment Center. It's many things. Tiava, do you have anything to add to that?
No, that's absolutely correct. And as far as getting to the point where you're standing in front of someone and you're saying, we have all this, we have that, we have all this evidence. If they have all that, they don't need your confession. They generally don't. The DA's intake is open 24 hours a day. When they get the level of information that they think is required for the case, not required to take for trial, just required to get the DA's office to say yes, because that's generally what they do. They call and they say, hey, this is what I have, whether it be outside at a crime scene before they even get you downtown good. They'll call and say, hey, these are the charges we have. This is the evidence we have. Are you willing to take this charge? And on the spot, the DA's office will tell them yes or no. So that means on the ride over there, he had the opportunity to call DA intake and say, hey, this is what I have. I have these statements. I have this confession. I have all this. Do I really need to go out here and talk to this guy? Yeah, he might come out there and talk to you just because, but there is nothing that you lose by saying, let me wait until I get an attorney to go into the station with me, just for protection. You have some officers that are 100% above board, but those are the officers who are going to say, you know what, when you have your attorney, make sure they call me and we'll set up a time to meet with each other. They lose nothing and you lose nothing by making sure your rights are protected. And that means having somebody that makes sure that you don't have the coercive interview, or them making false threats or subtle threats to you. Well, how would you feel if we arrested you in front of your kids at their school? How would you feel if this happened? Or where would your kids go if we had to pick you up and there was no one else? Those things happen.
That's a big threat that happens a lot. We get a lot of drug dealers who say that I said it was my drugs because they said that they were going to take my baby's mama's kids away from them. That's a big threat that they make. They will take her kids away from them. Don't we get that?
Or on the driving cases, if you're in the car and they say, you might have 3 people in the car and 2 kids in the back, and the 2 kids belong to you. And the officers pull you over, oh, those are not your kids. This is found in the car. I don't want to take the kids into CPS custody, but,
if you say it's yours, then
if it's yours, and I'll go with your friend. But, I need to know right now before I get CPS over here. Some parents will be like, you know what? I will do anything for your kid, my kids not to be taken away or taken to CPS. So, I'm assigned for this. And then only when they get to court and realize that wasn't so subtle. But do you think the officer is ever going to say, I told you I'd take your kids away? No.
So anyway, let's get back to the story. There's some good points we want to make in this educational process. So now you get charged with the crime, and you go through a couple of lawyers before you end up with me. So let's talk about the first lawyer that you hired.
Well, the first lawyer.
And I'm not trying to say his name or call him out, but tell me what happened in that relationship. What went right and what went wrong?
Well, I'll tell you this here. He was a Mason brother of mine. So I'll put it like that. And he also was like I say, he was my line brother. And he was a very, at that time, good friend. And I asked him, was he a criminal lawyer? And he told me, yes, he did do criminal law. And I went and asked him how much the case was, and he sat down and went through the process of telling me the amount of money. Make a long story short, I gave him $5,000 to begin the case. And when he got on the case, I mean, basically, I did all the footwork, as in the officers that I knew. I had one of the officers that I knew, told him what I was going through, and I said,
About how many times, though, did you go to court while you had
while I
the
had
lawyer?
him, I probably, man, basically almost that whole year.
And what did it end up? I mean, was it set for trial? What was the lawyer telling you?
Always, one time we'll go, it's looking good. Next time, you know, it's not looking too good. Next time we would go, he need his money. Next time he go, it was he had other engagements. He after.
Did he ever make you a plea bargain offer to take probation or go to prison? Never a plea bargain.
Never when he made no plea bargains.
And he's representing you for about a year.
About a year.
Now tell us, that's very unusual, isn't it, Tiiva?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, the DAs make a plea bargain offer on the first court date.
Yes.
So your lawyer was never telling you what the plea bargain offer was?
No.
Generally, if they talk in a victim case, what the procedure is they contact their victim prior to making an offer on the case. After they've contacted their victim, they generally go out and make an offer. The general cases that are reserved for no offers made, probably for the first couple settings, are murder cases, and that's because the division chiefs at this point make a decision as to what the recommendation will be for that case.
Can I take that word back? They did give him a plea.
What was
I
that?
take that back. They wanted to give me 3 years.
3 years in prison.
In prison. They wanted to give me 3 years off the top.
Off the top, okay.
Off the top.
That's what's normal.
Yeah,
They want to give you 3 years.
they wanted to give me 3 years.
Now, but some point, you went from him to a court-appointed lawyer. What happened?
Basically, he finally came to the conclusion. I guess he told me it was going to, you know, it was a financial situation that he said, you know, he needed to get this, and I told him I can get, but I don't think he could have handled that. He was too deep in water. That was too much for him. So he said
you lost confidence in him.
And I lost a lot of confidence in him because he didn't have that he didn't have that drive.
Okay, so then you get a court-appointed lawyer, and you plead guilty to you signed plea papers to plead guilty to this case. Because I know when I came on it, I saw the papers where you signed them. So tell me what made you, if you weren't guilty, why would you sign plea papers to plead guilty?
I tell anyone this, don't. I mean, this is just me. Don't get a court-appointed lawyer. If you gotta go cut grass or whatever, man, go make you some money and take care of your business. Go get you a lawyer.
Well, it does depend on what lawyer you had. Now, you had a lawyer that was trying to force you to take a plea.
Yes.
And at some point, you did do that.
Yes.
You succumbed to the pressure.
That,
now, why did you succumb to the... If you were not guilty, why did you sign a plea form that said you were guilty?
Time, frustration, basically threats.
What kind of threats?
To the point of me going to prison. Well, they talking about taking my kids from my wife, already talking about taking me out of my household.
And let me add another thing for the viewers. They also charged his wife.
Yes.
They charged his wife also. So now both he and his wife are paying for lawyers and going to court. So was part of the plea bargain when you were going to plead guilty, were they going to dismiss your wife's case?
Yes.
So you're about to man up and go to prison, so they dismiss your wife's case.
Yes.
And I think her case is for what? Omission, injury to a child by omission.
Omission, yes.
Something like that. Okay.
Right.
And I didn't represent her on that. So you're about to plead guilty. You're filling out the plea forms in the hallway of the criminal courthouse. You've been into the case about 1.5 years. And what stopped you from going through with it?
Angel.
Okay. Well, tell me about it.
I was sitting up here, almost on the last page, filling out the papers, and they was already having a trial going on, and there was some young black guys sitting up here, and I guess they was going in and out of trial, and this guy named Minister Jeremiah walked up, and he was speaking to them. He wasn't talking to me, and I hear him talking to these guys like, "Say, man, y'all don't need to take anything these people offering to you, because it's a hearsay case. Your word against their word. So don't go in there and just be like, just let them feed you anything." And when he was talking to them, it sounded like he was talking directly to me. And I didn't even take a second. He got up, I mean, he stopped talking to them guys and walked away. And I jumped up and I said, "Excuse me, can I talk to you?" I asked him, I asked him if the was the attorney. He told me no, he's not an attorney. But he knew some very good attorneys that can help me. I say, "Well, man, I'm in a bind." He say, "What's the problem?" I told him my case. I'm being charged for a sex assault on a child, my daughter. He say, What you? I said I was signing papers, plead guilty, 5 years adjudicated, lifetime sex offender. He say, man, you gonna do that? And you saying you? He said, well, let me look you in your eyes. He said, did you do it? I say, no, sir, I didn't do it. He said, well, go get them papers back to that people and come get with me, and I got a lawyer for you.
Okay, and then what lawyer did he introduce you to?
Miss Vivian King.
but it took me a long time to take this case, though. So didn't y'all try to talk me into it for about 3 months or something? It took a long time because you couldn't afford it.
I couldn't afford it.
And y'all had to convince me that this is one I needed to do for a very, very reduced fee because you didn't do it, right?
That's
but
right.
it was going to take a lot of work because all of the evidence was in Port Arthur.
Yes.
One of the things that we did was, I think I found out that she'd been in the hospital a few times. She had made false allegations before, but it was hard to get to that because she's a minor. Their records protected. She was in Port Arthur, so I think I got about 26 police reports, just the front cover from Port Arthur under the Freedom of Information Act. And I did see on the front cover where she had made about, at 11, she made a false report of sexual assault on a juvenile, another juvenile boy. At 12 years old, I think she had taken like 30 prescription pills. At 30 years old, she reported a male touching her. At 14, she reported a man exposing himself to her and making her touches private. And also that she'd been in and out of the hospital. But one of the things I found interesting when I got on the case I think was already set for trial, is that you had found out a killer in it. Your first lawyer found out that the child wasn't yours.
Yes.
All this time he'd gone through this, the Attorney General's blood test came back.
99.9% she wasn't even my child.
So he had gone through all of that, and it wasn't his child. But let me tell you what's cold. I keep trying to call the first lawyer. Give me the information, because all of that information was the first lawyer, not the second court-appointed lawyer, but the first lawyer. The court-appointed lawyer gave me everything he had, which was the defendant's statement, the recorded statement, and different things like that. But I'm trying to get to it. The lawyer never returns my phone call. I look him up on the state bar, he never returns my phone call. Then one day, I get a new prosecutor on the case, and she says, I think the case was reset for trial or something, and she says, Judge, I have something, it was in their work product. So I finally said, new prosecutor, look at this work product. And she finds out it's the first lawyer's file. It looked like the first lawyer had given it to him. I said, give it to me. My client owns his file. And she said, well, it does have, she's reading it now. She's telling me that the Attorney General's test results are in there, that the baby's not his, but she won't give it to me. And it's him. So I thought that was real deep. But anyway, so the child is not even his, and he's brought this child into his home. She's wrecked his life, caused all, and the baby is not even his. So I thought that was a very interesting clincher in the case. But by the grace of God for LaJohn, a new prosecutor got on the case. That it was set for trial, I think a couple weeks ago or last week, and we'd had it for a long time, but eventually she said, I checked out everything that you said, and I found that she had been in and out of the hospital. She had been talked about with her counselors in the hospital, mental hospital, all of the time she was sexually assaulted, but she never mentioned that LaJohn Wilson had sexually assaulted her. And then she's in the hospital actually right now, bless her heart. So hopefully she'll get the help that she needs. I don't doubt that she has been sexually assaulted. Now, I want to ask Tiava something. One of the interesting things, because we've tried sexual assault cases together, is that if a child, a 15 or 16-year-old, talks about sexual assault, we have to be able to explain how can a 15-year-old describe a sexual assault. Tell me about that, Tiava. What do we usually do to have to figure that out?
You go to different things. You look in their school records, you talk to their friends, you get on Facebook, you get on their Twitter, you find out everything you possibly can. Sometimes the best information comes from, the Facebook account when they're talking about their acts or interviewing their friends or interviewing people that know them, talking and looking through their disciplinary file to see what kind of things they've gotten in trouble for. If you have somebody and you're actually close enough and you can get access to the text logs or the text messages, those kind of things are there, but sometimes these cases are old, and sometimes these things are gone, so it makes it very difficult. So it comes into doing your research, and you were the queen of doing that. doing your research on the case and also getting to know everybody around that child and anything that you can possibly get hold of. These cases are research heavy and
they're people heavy. One of the things that I do, and T. Ivan knows this, is I spend a day in the life of my client. I mean, I spend a day with them in their homes. I try to, you know, find out everything I can. I mean, I found out a lot about the young lady by paying for 26 police reports out of Port Arthur, starting when she was a little girl, because I found the kind of trouble she went into. Not that it's admissible in court. And the rules on sex cases is that a person's prior sexual conduct is not admissible. So, for example, there can be a prostitute that gets raped, and you can't talk about the fact that she's been a prostitute or that she just sold her body last night and she's going to sell it tonight. That's not admissible because that's something that she's voluntarily doing. But in special situations like the children's cases, you can't explain how they know about sex. So if you can find out that they know about sex, you can talk about specific instances that where they've lied, made false reports on other people, or they've tried to influence people with their false allegations, and any mental issues that they've had. If they're taking medicine, one of the things LaJohn didn't know originally is when she moved into his house, she had been on mental medicine.
Yes, I did not know that.
You didn't know that? She had been on mental medicine, I guess, a lot of her life.
Part of her life. Basically, I was told by my bail bondsman when we was talking, I gave her the story, and I said, what was going on, that she was on medication. She said, well, that mother never sent you a whole child. She sent you a half a child. And I never knew this, and that child wasn't all the way together. And I tried to put a piece of, I mean, I just, my love and my prayers go out to her and her family, but I hope she gets better.
So when she was living with you, did you try to put her on that medicine?
I never knew she was on, I never knew she was,
so the 6 months she was with you, you didn't know she was on medicine?
I never knew she was on medication.
You found that out after the fact?
After the fact.
Let's take a call. Thank you for calling Truth and Justice. You're on.
Yes, I need to know, is there a law where you can't videotape police doing their job? A friend of mine said that he was taking a picture, and he was taking a video of a police doing their job, and then they came over and told him that he was violating the law. Is there a law to that effect?
Let me give you my opinion. No. That's my opinion, no. I've never seen a law like that, and I don't know if you were around or paid attention to the news when our former district attorney, Chuck Rosenthal, got defeated, but it was basically because of a lawsuit. That's how that happened, when a lot of things that happened with his text messages or emails came out. It was from a lawsuit where a search warrant was being run. I think they were the Ariando brothers. I might be
Ibarra brothers.
Huh? Ibarra brothers. I-B-A-R-R-A. The Ibarra brothers. A search warrant was being conducted across the street from their houses, and they started videotaping it. And the police, it was the Harris County Sheriff's Department, they bum rushed them, went all inside their house, took the video cameras, charged everybody with interference with the public duties, and basically a lawyer took it to federal court and won. And part of him taking it to court was to get copies of the DA's emails to see if they were communicating with the Sheriff's Department. That was the purpose, to see if they were communicating with the Sheriff's Department, to guide them and direct them to do that, to take the videos. And a huge settlement was obtained for the Ibarra brothers. So that's why the answer to my question is, you have a right to videotape whatever you want. Just like the police videotape you, you have a right to videotape them. Do you have any comments on that, Tia?
Oh, no. I generally, when you are stopped, even if you're not pointing the video at the officer, I do hit record on my phone, because you have so many instances where my clients are sitting there saying, but I never gave them permission. But that offense report will say, and they gave me permission to search the car. But I've had a couple that are smart, that they didn't pick it up or make it, I'm recording this whole thing. No, they hit the button on their phone, and they had the whole, no, I didn't consent, and if you give my phone for property, you can play it back, and it's there. And then there's no way around it. And I like to walk their little butts on the stand, and you're telling this, yes. So I think it's
okay,
a good idea.
Does that answer your question, caller?
Yes, it does. I really appreciate that, because that has been on my mind, and I've seen it on the internet where that there was a law that you couldn't video.
There's not a law, and remember, in Texas, the law is Texas-wide. It's not city-wide. Okay, it would have to be a Texas law in our penal code, or somewhere else, maybe the government code. But there's nothing, as I know, whatever gives the cops the right to record you, you have the right to record them. Now, doesn't mean the police are not going to tell you that you're recording them or that it's illegal to record you, because they might tell you that. But you have a right to, if you have a traffic stop and you know how to hit record on your cell phone and you want to be recording the conversation, police officers record you. The only time there's a problem recording people is under the eavesdrop law is if, say for example, I think my husband is cheating and I leave a tape recorder underneath the bed. I'm not a part of that transaction and it's being tape recorded. That's illegal. But if I'm a part of the conversation, I can tape record it. And that's what the rule is. So if I'm tape recording a conversation I'm having with LaJohn, I hit record, but I'm on the tape. That's not illegal. But if I leave a tape secretly somewhere to tape what other people are doing, that's what's illegal.
And it's also state by state, because there are some states that every party to the conversation has to know it's being recorded.
Yeah, in Texas, you don't have to say it's being recorded. You just have to be a part of the recording.
Only one party to the conversation needs to know that the conversation is being recorded.
We have 15 minutes, so let's try to hit some high points.
High point. As far as court-appointed attorneys, and that's a big issue with me, probably because I work at the public defender's office now. You have some court-appointed attorneys, and they genuinely care. They're going to bust their butt to try to help you out because it means something to them. I understand that a lot have a bad reputation, but you got to evaluate the person you get. And when I say evaluate them, you sit there and you have the conversation and look at the work that they produce. If a person could care less about your case, they've never told you anything good, they don't have time to talk to you, they don't want to know your side of the story, your facts, run and run fast.
But let me tell you, let me add something else to that, Tiaiva. The problem is this: you don't have a choice to who your court-appointed lawyer is. So whoever's appointed to you, that's your lawyer until the case is over. The only thing you have a right to as a citizen is to retain the lawyer of your choice. So say, for example, you'd be blessed if you had gotten Tiaiva as your court-appointed lawyer.
Right.
For 12 years, I did nothing but court appointments from 95 to 2007. People were blessed to have had me because I genuinely cared, but that did mean I didn't get compensated for what I did. I worked on nights and on weekends and neglected my daughter, neglected my family and my personal life. A lot of people are not going to be willing to do that because they're only going to get paid about $200 a day and not very much paid for anything else that they do for you.
Right.
So if you don't like your court-appointed lawyer, then it is a bitch to be poor. I mean, you're going to have to try to hire your own lawyer. And it's hard for anybody to work for free. As you know, you don't work for free.
No, I don't.
And it's very difficult being a criminal defense lawyer because we have to deal with the government. I mean, the government has 3 lawyers that in the court. They have supervisors that you don't see. They have investigators who are retired homicide detectives. I mean, so it's a big fight. And prosecutors generally don't get to work it until a case is set for trial, which will be 6 months to a year into it. They come there to plead you. It's not their fault. It's just kind of the way the system is designed.
Right.
And so you're kind of stuck. I mean, it's a long time to get to trial. Some courts, it takes a year and a half to get to trial. That's a lot of time because coming to court for no reason.
Right.
And you, as far as you were right about, if you have somebody that is not looking out for your best interest, at the end of the day, if you didn't do it, you need to get out there and cut the grass and do whatever you need to do and make sure you have somebody that's good, but you can't go in with the idea that everybody's going to be bad because if you got me, or you got a lot of, like there's a lot of them that I've had people, I got this one, what do you think? I think that you're blessed. Go home tonight and thank God and give them all the assistance they need because this is a person that will fight for you. What you need to do, even when you're talking to attorneys, fill them out and don't just be fooled by, oh, well, you know, I can represent you and I'll give you a low fee. That should be a warning right there that there's probably a problem because guess what? If they can do your case for next to nothing, that means they have to pick up a million other cases to cover their mortgage and to cover their overhead and to pay their staff, or they won't do the investigations. They won't do the extra work. Sometimes you get what you pay for.
Yes.
But having said that, make sure you do your homework. It is your life. It is your future. Nobody is going to check for it more than you. If you have somebody that's going to go all in and fight with you, give them the assistance they need. Don't be fooled by, oh, it's not going to be that much, because you get what you pay for.
Okay.
And another thing is, it's difficult, like we were saying, to fight the government, but just think, he almost pled guilty and took probation for a crime he didn't commit and was going to be a sex offender for life. And once a man that's 40 like you is a sex offender for life and you have minor children, CPS could take you away from your children, even when you get out of prison, after you finish the probation, because now you're convicted. And even deferred adjudication for a sex offense doesn't mean anything.
No.
Because you still are going to have that mark that if someone says, where are the sex offenders, DPS is going to have your picture, everybody's going to have your picture for the rest of your life.
That's
He'll
right.
never go to a school game.
You can't go to a school game, you
be a
can't go to
coach.
school to visit your children. So please don't plead guilty to a crime that you didn't commit. I mean, you plead guilty to something that you did do, not to something that you didn't do. And I commend you for having the courage to tell other people your story.
Right.
Tell us, since we do still have about a few more minutes, tell us something about the frustrations that you came across in the criminal justice system, things that we can change since we're a part of it.
Well, basically, like I say, all I can say in the criminal, just open-minded, being open-minded that everybody is not a criminal, you know?
Well, the DA's office, I mean, the criminal justice system treats people like
yeah, I
guilty
know.
until proven innocent.
Yeah,
I mean, that is the way it's treated.
Yeah, but I mean, you have to be proven innocent. I still think you have to at least let the person take the stand or go to trial.
Right.
I mean, everyone that hit the door, I mean, you know, first of all, you know, as I've been going through the courts, you know, you get in there, I done had minor little things that I had to go to jail for, and I watch how the sheriffs handle the people inside the jail. Soon you walk in the courtroom, you might as well should have been one of the guys coming from behind the door in an earned suit, because just because you coming in there suit, pants, tie, you still getting handled the same way with this guy, and you done spent almost $3,000 to $4,000 bonding yourself out. You should be some kind of way. You should be getting treated a little bit different than this guy that's in his orange shirt. You know, this orange jumper.
So basically what you're saying is that you're treated with disrespect. But one of the things people have to realize, too, is the lawyers get treated with disrespect. Just the way the system treats you like you're a criminal when you walk in the door and you're guilty, the system also treats us like that. Like if Tiava and I are trying to negotiate my case with the prosecutor, who's overworked, there's 3 of them, they might have 60 cases a day. They'll say, well, your client is trash. Your client is nothing. He needs to go on and plead. I mean, what y'all don't realize is that,
Look at
Because
this criminal
criminal
history.
Look at his criminal history. And we didn't say that you have been in trouble with a felony when you were younger.
Right.
And so what the prosecutors were looking at is that he's had a felony before when he was in Port Arthur. He's probably not, you know, a good person. And so forget him. They talk crazy to us like they would be talking to you. And so that's what you don't understand. So then we have prosecutors talking ugly to us, saying our client ain't nothing. And then we have some clients who don't appreciate us saying, if you were any kind of lawyer, you get this case dismissed. But people don't realize is that the DA's office is not there to dismiss your cases. The DA's office accepts charges on you. So why would they turn around the first day you have a lawyer and dismiss it?
Right.
What you're supposed to do then is exercise your constitutional right to go to trial. And you gotta, I mean, you gotta be bold enough to do that.
Gotta go.
You gotta go. I mean, I can understand you being scared.
Yes.
Because, you know, especially if you're a black man, because you know the jurors are probably not going to be black.
Right.
And they're going to have to try to hear your story and hopefully sympathize with your story. But that's where it comes to, it's important the relationship you create with a lawyer if you happen to be unfortunately in trouble. Like Tiava said, if you're interviewing people, you need to interview 5 or 6 lawyers. You got to feel comfortable with someone and think they're being honest with you. And you have to be able to handle the truth. I'm a very honest lawyer, but a lot of people don't like the truth. Talk about that, Tiava. People don't like the truth.
Oh, no. You have people that, before we talk, I'm going to tell you, I'm straight up, I'm not a hand-holdy, oh, really? I'm going to tell you what the truth is. I'm going to deal with the facts. When you go into a case, you're going to go in knowing what the state's going to come at you with and what we've researched. We're going to talk about it, but I can't defend what I don't see coming. So I need to know the truth. And that means you got to acknowledge the truth. And sometimes it hurts to say it out loud, but when it's, you know, your truth versus your time, I'm thinking that maybe you need to choose the truth. And some people don't like to hear it. But the best results come when you are able to be honest and upfront with your lawyer and tell them your side. And whether you did it good, bad, whatever, having somebody that at the end of the day will give it all and fight for you. But you have to be honest. Because if we're sitting in trial and something comes out that you could have told me, but I didn't know about, the only person that gets hurt is you. And if you have that kind of attorney that you feel like telling them a fact will change their level of representation you get, you should probably find a new attorney.
So that's a very important point that Tiava is making. You have to be honest with your lawyer. We're going to keep it confidential, but we can't defend you if the prosecutor knows more about the case than we do. I mean, one of the things that I have a reputation of as being honest, even with juries, and Tiava knows that. If my client makes a mistake, I admit it to the jury because I think people can handle the truth. But the issue is, did you do it or not?
Right.
And so that's what we try to deal with. Wouldn't you agree, Tiava?
Yes.
And Tiava's an excellent lawyer. Like I said, she's been a prosecutor, and now she works for our new public defender's office. Is doing a really good job. Because now they've evened the playing field now. Harris County has evened the playing field because we now have defense lawyers who have insurance, who have an office, that they don't have to hustle and make, you know, $10,000 extra a month to pay office overhead, pay for their own health insurance. It could be $800 a month by itself.
Investigators.
Now, investigators. So, you know, a lot of times I have to pay the investigator out of my fee.
Right.
They have investigators, they have psychologists, so they have the resources that the district attorney has.
Okay.
So we have a new public defender system. It's not, they don't do misdemeanors yet, is that right?
The only misdemeanors that we currently do are if you have mental health issues, they'll accept those misdemeanors. They accept juvenile cases and regular felony cases, but those are only cases that are assigned by court. So if you write and saying, hey, can you take, we don't have any say on who we get to represent. But I like being in a space where I can go all in and I can fight and I can say, hey, can you go investigate this, and not look at a family like this is going to cost this much to investigate it. I mean, that part is hard. Or having a mitigation specialist that, yeah, you might be on video and it might be a really bad case, but somebody that can dig through everything that's ever happened to you in life and present me with this pretty picture so I can know you and argue for you. And Vivian will spend all night doing it on her own or sending out investigators, and when her clients don't have the resources to get the best investigator out there, she's going to take her time to do that. But that means that she has to charge a lot, and the reason she has to charge a lot is because when she commits to a case, she's not just, oh, I'm going to commit to it for this little bit of money. No, when I commit to it, I'm committed to it. I am coming to your house. I am in your family. You're a part of me for this time, and I'm going to do whatever. I'm going to go through fire for you, and that takes work. That takes extra time, and you can't do that if you're doing 2 million cases, and you can't pay your bill if you're not charging for the work that you actually do. So, I mean, it's hard being a criminal defense attorney, but for people that, you know, really care about how their cases end up, you'll sit down and you'll talk to the person and find the person that will fight like hell for you.
Well, thank you so much for watching another episode of Truth and Justice with Vivian King. I appreciate, again, LaJohn Wilson for coming up and telling his story and hopefully educating people who've watched this show about what goes on in the criminal justice system. Sometimes it works out right. The district attorney dismissed his case after a thorough investigation by me and a good, strong prosecutor who investigated it and who agreed. Thank you, Tiava Bell, for taking your time. Tiava is a hard-working lawyer and a mother with 2 little kids, so it was a sacrifice for her to come up here tonight. And remember, you're watching Truth and Justice with Vivian King, and I want to tell your story so that I can educate the criminal justice system, I can educate the urban community about what happens, and we can get rid of all of these urban myths. If you have a question, I can answer it. If you have a story, you can come in disguise. If you watch my show, you've seen people come in disguise. But I want to tell your story, and I want to educate Houston. So thank you again for watching the show, and we're going to bring you another exciting show next week. Thank you.